The John Fogerty comeback was a long time coming. In the 60s, as lead singer, songwriter, and producer of the legendary band Creedence Clearwater Revival, Fogerty racked up hit after hit after hit, writing his name into rock legend in just a couple years. But Fogerty's dominance of the group led to friction and eventually collapse after Fogerty's bandmates demanded more creative control, leading to one terrible final album and subsequent breakup. See my Creedence episode for more details. Fogerty, now rid of his recalcitrant band and having proven who was the real talent in the group, should have been perfectly set up for a killer solo career, but that's not what happened. Unlike his time with Creedence, which was a hit-making machine, Fogerty's first two solo albums produced little to nothing in terms of chart success, and Fogerty, overtaken with bitterness over the band breakup and bad business dealings with his label, entered a long creative drought that would take him about a decade to break. But when he finally stepped back up to the plate, he hit a goddamn home run. In 1985, John Fogerty released his comeback record, Centerfield, and his timing couldn't have been better. Not only did he have his strongest collection of songs since the 60s, he was also one of the first people to catch the wave of boomer nostalgia that flooded the charts in the mid to late 80s. The songs he wrote with Creedence had only become more legendary with time, and the heartland rock he had helped inspire was now a major commercial force, so the rock and roll establishment was ready to welcome him back with open arms.
Last year, one of the biggest rock album sellers was Centerfield by John Fogerty.
Just like that, John Fogerty was walking among the giants again. In an era dominated by global superstars, there was good old plaid shirt and bandana John at number fucking one. You'd think Fogerty would have been on top of the world, but success left him more miserable than ever. His never-happy marriage collapsed. Saul Zaentz, the former label head who owned all his Creedence songs, sued Fogerty for plagiarizing himself. Sued Fogerty for that too, for defamation. But what stung on top of all of that was the critics. Not because he got bad reviews, his reviews were extremely good, but he just didn't like the way those reviewers talked about him, calling him a retro rocker, a nostalgic throwback. That's not how they talked about Springsteen or Mellencamp. Would you say that to Tom Petty? No. And the harshest reviews of all came from his old bandmates in Creedence, who called Centerfield a stale retread of the songs they had made together back in the day.
The last album was really painful for me because it sounded, the old man down the road sounded so much like Creedence that it was hard for me to get past that.
Well, god damn it, John Fogerty wasn't going to stand for that.
Well, I intend to make another album before.
He was gonna keep the train chugling with another album right out of the gate. And this time it wouldn't be a bunch of backwards looking songs about baseball or the 60s. No, John Fogerty was out to prove that he was as relevant to this modern era called the 1980s as anyone. And he would make it with all the modern sounds and newest recording technology, and it would be about real, current issues that affect everybody every day. John Fogerty was going to make the defining social commentary record of 1986 with his fourth solo record, Eye of the Zombie. Fuck yeah. Zombies. Zombies kick ass. What the hell is this? Yeah, I don't... What? And what is this album cover? Like, I actually got a copy of the record for once. Can you see this? Can you see that? The hell? It looks like Ron Perlman in Beauty and the Beast. Well, if you're puzzled looking at this, that's nicer than the critics were, and they've only gotten harsher in hindsight. Calling it things like a misfire of staggering proportions, overloaded with excess baggage and belabored social commentary, and a snoozer, the sound of a genuine rock original approaching self-parody. But the harshest critic of all is Fogerty himself, who now says it's not a very good record. If some guy was in line at the music store holding Zombie, I'd try and talk him out of it. That's a hilarious image. Just picture him in the record store being like, oh man, are you sure? Don't you want to maybe buy Tarzan Boy instead?
Soda pop, soda pop. Everybody wants to make it to the top.
Oh man, what is this? That's way more repulsive and gross than any zombie. This is not a zombie, right? Like, does he think zombies are big cat people? Christ. John Fogerty's career resurrection becomes The Walking Dead. This is Train Records. Those of you who watched my Creedence episode of Train Records might think that that was the lowest point of John Fogerty's career, but that is not true. The actual lowest point came in 1976 with the album Hoodoo. Struggling for hits for the first time in his life, he started shamelessly chasing trends, meaning that this was now the target John Fogerty was trying to hit.
You got the magic, thrilling me. You got the magic, chilling me.
So Hoodoo was printed, cataloged, and ready to ship when, a week before release, the head of the label called him into his office and gently asked him if he really wanted to release this piece of shit. Fogerty was like, yeah, you're right, he scrapped the whole thing, he had all the records destroyed, and it only exists in low-quality bootlegs now. That was Fogerty's first experiment in changing with the times. The second was Centerfield. In the years and years it took to make it, Fogerty experimented with all sorts of different styles, and by his own admission, none of it fucking worked, which is why, minus a drum machine here and there, it wound up a very traditional album. Now, I say all that to give you a sense of how difficult recording had been for John Fogerty up to that point, which is crucial to understand why Eye of the Zombie ended up the way it did.
I really am very anxious to get out in the world, tour.
Having finally broken his writer's block, he wanted to keep swinging while he was on a hot streak. And most importantly, he wanted to go out on tour. Unfortunately, he refused to play Creedence songs because he was so bitter about the way the band ended, and having only one good album makes for a thin set list.
I need quite a lot of more material than the 9 songs that appear on Centerfield.
Hence the rush, just get it out there so you can go do tour dates. But hey, he was used to working fast. He put out 3 Creedence albums in the year 1969 alone. And the long delays on Centerfield was partially because he was trying to do it all himself. Well, not so for Eye of the Zombie. He may be using new tech, but he's gonna do things the old way. He's finally got a real band again. He can pick out the best studio guys so that he's not doing everything himself. This is gonna rock. Let's play this baby. Alright, I see. We're starting with that slow build-up. Yeah, I love when albums do this. Purple Rain starts like this, the Joshua Tree. That's how you know you're listening to something epic. We just gotta let it build up. And here's where it kicks in. Guess not, we'll give it a little longer. Long is this intro? 3.5 minutes? Jesus. Okay, geez. Well, let's actually start the fucking album. Alright, here we go. Title track. Eye of the fucking Zombie. You know, like on the cover of the album. A zombie. Sure. Anyway, let's rock this shit.
Shadows on the mountain, and the night begins to fall.
Yep. Evil. Scary. The undead. Ladies and gentlemen, my first and probably last Train Records Spectacular Edition! Didn't plan it that way, it's just how it rolled out. This song has sounded more listenable and normal within the Fogerty catalog the more I've listened to it, but On the first listen, I had a big WTF reaction to it. Like, what the hell is he singing about?
If beast already dead, comes to join the dance of the zombie.
Is he trying to make his Thriller? Did he want to make songs about monsters the entire time? I wanna know, have you ever seen a zombie? What even is the Eye of the Zombie? Like, Eye of the Tiger, I get. Like, that's an image. That's a mighty hunter looking down its prey. Or Eye of the Witch would have made sense. Witches cast all sorts of evil spells with their evil eye. You know, the zombie's eyes are just, you know, kind of crusted over and hanging out of its socket. It doesn't do anything. It's just gross. I guess he could have meant voodoo zombies. Those have creepy eyes. But he keeps saying they're dead.
You can't kill a dead man.
Voodoo zombies aren't dead. They're still alive. I might have put up with this kind of amateur mistake some other time, but not during the high holidays. Okay, gonna stop being stupid on purpose here. This is not actually a song about zombies.
Panic in the crowd, helter-skelter, we're proud to our knees.
He said this is gonna be a political album, right? This is obviously a metaphor for something, so I don't know, Cold War or drugs, yeah, 80s, crack, drugs. People are always comparing crackheads to zombies. That's gotta be it.
What does Eye of the Zombie mean?
Well, the song itself is about terrorism, terrorists.
Terrorists. Okay, wouldn't have gotten that.
We also have, certainly in America, this other phenomenon of individuals who, for what reason, one reason or another, they just give up. They become dead.
Okay, yeah, terrorists. Zombies are terrorists. The most famous zombie song of all time. That's also about terrorism. And that's clearly the layered metaphor that Jeff Dunham was going for with Ahmed the Dead Terrorist.
I kill you.
You fucking idiot. So yeah, it makes sense.
The terror is at hand, and there's nothing you can do.
Terrorism, terror, what's more terrifying than zombies? It works, I guess. I mean, it didn't work since this song fucking bricked on the charts. I don't know, I don't think terrorism was really on people's minds in the 80s. That's more like a 70s thing, or 90s, or every decade after that. But except for like a couple hot spots like Ireland, it wasn't really a huge thing in the zeitgeist in 1986. But that's not really the problem. The problem is the song is fucking goofy. It sounds like a joke. I mean, he updated his sound all right. He's got the cartoony processed guitars of ZZ Top. It works for them because they're real-life cartoon characters. It's such a silly sound. And put that with the silly imagery of this song, it's hard to make that about anything serious. It's like if Warren Zevon wrote Werewolves of London and told you it was a metaphor for racism.
From out of nowhere, he's there, flashing hideous teeth.
Like, no, this is just literally about zombies. Also, of course, it's hard to promote a song in the 80s with a video this bad. That's something Fogerty never took to, music videos, like a lot of boomers, which is how he got whatever this is. Like, I looked and looked, trying to find a better than potato quality version of it, but I think this is just literally what it actually looks like. I guess he didn't have time to shoot a video, so he gave a bunch of LARPers a Super 8 camera and let them go nuts. Yeah, I don't know about this. You can add it to your Halloween playlist, but I'm not surprised it flopped. Anyway, Eye of the Zombie peaked at number 81 on the Hot 100, a dramatic drop-off from Centerfield. But Fogerty wasn't done being political. If the problem with Eye of the Zombie was that it was too abstract, the next single would be a lot more directly about the day's headlines. It was called Headlines. All right, dial it back, Benson Boone. Jeez.
Read it in the paper today. 2 cats howling till the break of day.
Okay, one big problem with all the social commentary on this record is that whether it's metaphorical or it's literal, it still feels like it's hitting you in the face with a baseball bat. Like, he's just really going for it. You know, it's funny, I also feel beset by headlines most of the time, so I should be able to relate, but I just generationally have a lack of sympathy here. But, because I'm sorry, the 80s were boring. They were fucking boring. No, but we love the 80s. Yeah, name something that happened in 1985. Do it. Do it right now. Not like a TV show or something like pop culture related, but an actual news event. Name it. What were the big headlines that everyone was talking about at the end of the year? Like, the reason 80s nostalgia is everywhere now is the same reason 50s nostalgia existed in the 70s, because people missed when things were comparatively boring. Oh, and shut up, Gen Xers. Like, oh, there was a big scary war we thought was gonna happen, but it didn't. Pfft, headlines.
My head is throbbing, man, I gotta find a song. The radio, the press will tell me what's going on.
You don't even have a smartphone. No sympathy, sorry. Or even if this was written now, when the news is bad all the time, this isn't a song about how world events impact everyone's lives. It's just about watching too much TV. Like, there's no time where that would make a good song. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Touch grass? After this, we get a song called Knocking on Your Door. This is like the soul/Motown song on the album. Okay, white people doing Motown. Like, there was a lot of Motown worship from aging white guys in the 80s, and a lot of people tried to do tributes to Motown. By which I mean they use like similar song structures and bass lines and so forth, and not a single one of them is reminiscent of Motown because they're using 80s instruments in recording. Like, you couldn't possibly mistake them for Motown. They ain't nothing like the real thing, baby. And like, none of them are good Motown songs. A few of them are at least good 80s songs. Knocking on Your Door isn't one of them.
Just trying to get my nerve.
I know you want to mess around with these new synthesizers people have, but like, I don't know whose idea it was to put it on the Mario Kart 64 setting. Good for video games, not good for soul music. At this point, we have the third and final single, which has what I would consider the only real music video, Changing the Weather.
Changing the weather, changing the weather, something's happening here.
This is, by a gigantic margin, the best song on the record.
People walking around in fear.
It's also one of the only songs on here that Fogerty still likes, and the only one that has ever showed up in his set list after this album cycle.
I can't believe my eyes. Wind is raging, there's a fire in the sky.
This wasn't a hit either, unfortunately. But if any song on here was gonna be a hit, it's this one. It's a classic blues song where the band actually sounds like they know what they're doing for once. Like, I don't know why this wasn't a hit. It was definitely better than whatever dog shit Clapton was making at the time.
People walking around in fear.
I don't know, maybe it was just too old-fashioned. My main complaint is that it's too modern. It sounds too much like a beer commercial, and it looks like one too. But like, that's just an unfortunate side effect of being a blues song in the 80s. Like, that's what blues was used for in the 80s. If I had to guess the real problem, it was that by this point, it was far too late to save the album because the buzz was already very bad. But yeah, so much for going high-tech. The classics are what works. This really has everything you'd want from a John Fogerty song. The soulfulness, the more grounded imagery, Fogerty doing that growly bluesman thing where he devours words.
Been up and left after the hurricane.
He clearly said Harry Kane there. But yeah, it cooks. And it really highlights the failure of the rest of the album. He spent so much time trying to sound current, and the only thing that works is what worked with CCR. Making metaphorical songs of dread about incoming bad weather.
Storm warning and it looks like rain.
Yep, looks like rain. Have you ever seen the rain coming down on a bad moon rising? God, who'll stop the rain as we run through the jungle? This is what the album is missing so far. And I hope you enjoyed it, because we're not seeing that ever again. At this point, we have another political song, Violence is Golden. And this one's about arms dealers, presumably selling guns to all those zombie terrorists. And Fogerty said he had been kicking this one around since the 60s, so yeah, bring back some of that good counterculture energy. Fucking tear them apart, John. I'm sorry, what is this supposed to be, an 80s Bond theme? Get on with it. Right, there we go, I guess.
Pass another plate of shrapnel, sprinkle it with TNT. Gotta have another grenade salad, split it with your enemy.
All right, you lost me.
Gotta have another grenade salad, split it with your enemy.
So he's selling you guns like food? I guess he's like the sommelier in the John Wick movies, but with entrees instead of wine? Yeah, speaking of food, this one needed to cook a little longer, I'm sorry. Grenade salad? I guess this one's at least timely. Apparently Iran-Contra started breaking right after the album got released, and Fogerty points to that as a reason why this was like a super relevant song. And Fogerty blamed the album's failure on the vapid 80s culture where people only cared about MTV and snorting coke and not what really happens in the world. You know, more or less. And look, yes, the 80s were not the 60s, but there were in fact popular songs about social issues. It wasn't unheard of. All you had to do is put in some Ronald Reagan puppets and there you go. Now, to be fair to Fogerty, once a couple years had passed, he dialed that back. Like, no, it was on me. I was too in my head. I didn't make it accessible. And yeah, the album is really preachy. It does hit you over the head with it. But I would say, like, inaccessible, that is a problem, but it's a symptom of the bigger problem, which is that it's bad.
Take a handful of Star Wars missiles, maybe super laser gun.
It sounds like crap, and it's badly written.
Got a year-end sale going on. You can see the appeal.
It's written like a Weird Al song by someone that isn't funny. Like grenade salad, more like word salad. I can't believe you were working on this since the 60s. I have to believe that meant he only had the title or the concept, and then he just scribbled out the rest of the lyrics on the day of recording. And yes, he would admit later that he did push it out too quickly. But by that, he means he pushed it out too quickly for the label. He says he didn't realize he couldn't just drop the record and it's on the radio immediately anymore. Like, the label needs time to build hype. But he just dumped it on them and went on tour. In fact, he started touring before the album even came out because he had to fit in shows before all his court dates.
You know, after waiting 15 years to come back out and play, I have to go to trial with these same people.
What a weird concert that must have been. Not only are you playing no Creedence songs, only new songs, you're playing songs that aren't even out yet. So he knows he didn't make it easy on Warner Brothers, you know, to try and give them a week to try and market a record. Especially a record with this fucking album cover. Like, he literally says that. He knows he fucked them over with the album cover. Here's the back cover too. Like, what are those ghosts? I have no idea what I expect from this album art. Like, maybe it's a prog jazz album from the 70s. Certainly not someone who's trying to compete with Eddie Money. Here's the next song, Wasn't That a Woman?
Wasn't that a woman? Wasn't that a woman?
Fogerty has never written a lot of songs about women. He says he thinks that kind of thing is lame. But he has done it before. In the CCR episode, we covered Sweet Hitchhiker. And just like Sweet Hitchhiker, Wasn't That a Woman came out at a time that his marriage was falling apart, this time for good. So Fogerty was living life as a newly divorced, middle-aged rock star, which he understandably describes now as a pretty embarrassing time in his life. Hitting on waitresses, drinking too much, just general sad midlife crisis shit. I kind of imagine that's where this song comes from too. Like, if he was drunk in the studio, that would explain why it sounds like this. Like, if you ever see me doing another Train Records episode on, I don't know, something from Reagan's second term, 85 to 88, that era, if I ever cover another album from that period again, just know that I'm cheating. I'm basically cheating. It's John Fogerty's bad luck that he tried to get with the times at the worst possible time. This would have been the perfect time to be an old fogey stuck in the past, because everything from that time period sounds awful, especially if it's from an artist from a long previous era. Like, yes, you can think of classic rockers who adapted to the digital age well, but so many of them did not. Like, this isn't even notably worse than any of the other stuff the more successful peers were making. Count Fogerty as one of the many artists who got defeated by the 80s. Now, in his memoir, Fogerty says, you know, the album's my fault. I made all the decisions. I was in a really bad place. I gotta take all the blame on this one. But then he just completely throws his band under the bus. He's like, yeah, it's on me because I picked this shitty band. I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at myself for believing that you wouldn't disappoint me. Like, he just has nothing good to say about any of them. He's like, well, I brought in the hottest session guys in LA because I was told that these guys can play anything, and they just couldn't. They were overpaid studio hacks who could only play one way. Okay, well, who are they then? Here is the band. On keyboards, Alan Pasqua, best known for such songs as I'll See You in My Dreams by Giant. And Respect Yourself by Bruce Willis. On bass, Neil Steubenhouse, best known for such songs as Just Call Me Angel of the Morning Angel. And on drums, John Robinson, best known for such songs as We are the children. Yeah, maybe these were not the right guys for this project. That said, they are in fact some of the most accomplished men in their field. Like, the drummer played on Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. So I think they probably deserve better than how Fogerty was talking about them. And the band didn't get great reviews at the concerts either, so it's not like Fogerty doesn't have a point. But if you hear Fogerty talk about anything he's angry about, it's always like, it's not that he ever sounds wrong, it's just, God, what crawled up your ass and died? And like, yes, the band is at fault for the next one. It's called Soda Pop. You're my soda pop, my little soda. No, we're not touching that. Ever. I will say it's better than this. Soda pop, soda pop. Everybody wants to make to the top. Oh no. Looks like we're gonna get a little bit funky. Yeah, that sounds awful, but the lyrics are not good either. Take $1 million, baby, put it in my hand. Put my favorite retouch photo on the soda can. Look, the 80s is when all the big music stars started doing commercials. And a lot of the old schoolers were really upset about how everyone was selling out. This is incredibly dated and quaint to think about now. No one even remotely cares about that anymore. Like, I get that back in the 80s, music still made money, so taking corporate cash on top of that just seemed crass. But, I don't know, I find it hard to get angry about anyone doing product plugs here and there. But if you want to hear other video makers who have thoughts about capitalism warping art, you can check them out on my streaming service Nebula, where you can get 40% off the regular price using my coupon code. Anyway, I'm trying to get into Fogerty's mindset. You know, he's trying to make fun of these greedy sellout artists, but like it's difficult. If I had to describe this album in one word, I guess it would be cranky. Like, it's a cranky old man getting angry about headlines and commercials. It's rough. No one wants to be around that guy. Ain't singing for Pepsi. The funny thing is that fellow cranky old man Neil Young wrote a song about the exact same subject later, and that was a big hit for him. Because, you know, Neil actually is funny, while John is just... Show a couple of old-time pictures from the baby boom, and suck 'em in while I cruise, and suck 'em in while I cruise. Got him. Boy, I bet Lionel Richie sure feels bad about taking that dirty, dirty Pepsi money now. And then finally, the only other good song on the album, Sail Away. I do think it's funny that both Fogerty albums I've covered on Train Records have featured a song called Sail Away. Lock the door, sun's falling. although the first one was much worse than this. Anyway, when I say that this song's good, I mean Fogerty thinks it's the only other good song. I don't know if it really does anything for me. I mean, it is kind of a relief after being screamed at the entire record. Although it doesn't make a very good album closer, I'd rather have it in the middle of the album to break up all the ranting and yelling.
Leaving all of this pain behind, gonna sail away.
But, you know, it is a pleasant little song about hoping to find inner peace after being abducted by aliens! No, seriously, that's what the song's about.
Mama, come look quick. There's a light up in the sky.
I think he had seen Close Encounters recently or something like that, so he wrote a song about being taken away to salvation on a flying saucer.
The passageway is lit, and it's time to get on board.
One outlet that did not like Sail Away was Rolling Stone. When they got to that one, they were just like, is John Fogerty okay? The answer was no, he was not. He will fully admit he was in a miserable, depressed state of mind that wouldn't get better until he met his second wife and straightened out his life, and they're still together today, which is nice, but that wouldn't come till much later. And look, I don't want to claim that the reception for this album was 100% negative. There were a couple good reviews. Spin gave it a rave, saying it was way better than Centerfield and, quote, his strongest, most passionate record ever, which, I'm sorry, that's just an insane take. What? But the public more or less sided with the haters, and that was the end of John Fogerty as an ongoing chart concern. It looks like he decided the quick turnaround was a mistake because he once again went on hiatus from recording for even longer this time. And by the time he returned, he had firmly passed into his legacy artist years. Now, you certainly couldn't say he's had a disappointing career. He's a legend and will be all his life. But you look at other artists of his caliber who were flying in the 80s and 90s, the Claptons and Neil Youngs and Bonnie Raitt's, let alone the Pettys and Springsteens, the potential was there for a much bigger late period career than he had. And you know, I think we have this kind of understanding that comebacks should be permanent. Like, if you've already had the rise and fall and you defeated it, that should be the end of it. But comebacks fizzle all the time. Elvis had the greatest comeback of all time and then flamed out with fried food and drugs. Burt Reynolds had a big comeback with Boogie Nights and made nothing but crap for the rest of his career. We all loved Bennifer 2.0 until we didn't. You expect more, and then you only get disappointment. That's how I feel about Eye of the Zombie. Disappointment. And for me, the biggest disappointment of all, after listening to this and doing all this research and how it all went wrong, is that I never found out what the deal was with the Catman. Like, here's what he says about the cover. He wanted to do it with tribal tattoos, but David Lee Roth beat him to it, so they used zombie makeup instead, and it looks fake. You can't be talking about this cover. Is that supposed to be you? Is that supposed to be a zombie? That's not an explanation. What makeup artist did you use that thought zombies had cat eyes? How? How? Look, that wasn't a good album. But I wanted to send you out on something at least halfway decent to watch, so let me introduce you to Amy. Not my dog Amy, this Amy. Amy, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Amy, and I'm afraid of shadows. But Todd is the exception. I feel like there's a pretty good chance that you like music, like many of us here on the TV screen. Well, hey, you should come over and join my dream house, where we'll have special musical guest performances with my lovely friends. Yeah, that's right, I got friends. My microwave, my TV, my cinder block, and my snake. And they're very cool, and they like me a lot, and they talk to me all day long. So.
Great, awesome. Can I say that this is actually a really good show? Like, genuinely good? It's called Amy's Dead End Dream House, and it takes place in the magical, whimsical, wacky fun land that we all imagined as kids that we would grow up to live in, except now the wacky talking cartoon friends have to hear us whining about our depressing adult problems. The full season just finished. You can check out the entire first episode for free on YouTube, and then you can check out the rest of it streaming exclusively on Nebula, the creator-built platform that's home to smart, weird, one-of-a-kind shows you won't find anywhere else. And you'll also find exclusives from Jesse Gender, Philosophy Tube, and other brilliant minds behind the internet's best content. Plus, you'd be helping me out, which I'd appreciate, especially if you use my creator code. See, they also give out lifetime subscriptions that last for literally as long as both you and Nebula exist. Lifetime. Now, usually it's $500, but if you use my code, you'll get it for only $300. That's literally a 40% discount. Or if you just want to do it monthly, you can get 40% off of that using my code too. There's no ads, no algorithm, just high quality stuff made by great, non-slop artists and video makers. So if you want to watch Amy's Dead and Dream House and a ton of other amazing Nebula originals, use my link to get 40% off. That's just $36 a year, $3 a month. Click the link, scan the QR code, and start watching now. Thank you and good night.